Hey, shalom. Oh, let's see if we can get you close enough for me to see your comments. Shalom from Florida, says Brendan. Shalom, says the tradesman. And there is Teresa Jukowitz. Shalom. And Mrs. Hippie Hebrew. I remember you guys. I remember you being on another live stream. Maybe you guys are up in the Pacific Northwest. Is that right? Welcome. There is Teresa and Ohan. Good afternoon, evening, everyone in the room, says Smiling Mary. Teresa says, sounds like my house. Nice, peaceful sounds, right, Teresa? There's Becca Repurpose. Shalom. There's Aid. Cheers, Aid. How are things in your neck of the woods? Has it cooled down any? Just Me is in the southern coastal area of Washington, so you are in the same general vicinity as Raincat, I believe. And there's Palmetto Paratrooper and Andrew Stanek. Shalom, shalom. And Mrs. B. Andrews. There we go. Awesome. We've been on before, but we're in North Wisconsin. Oh, that's right. And I said, check out Sustainable Stewards channel. Ohan is hot, hot, hot. There's Grace Aker. Shalom. And Ronnie Scaff. Ooh, it's hard for me to read that. Scaff. Shalom, Sister Kate. Shalom, y'all. Well, it's been a while since I've done a live stream. And man, it's been a summer. I'll tell you that much. One of the reasons I wasn't on very much is how busy we've been. And the hot weather just made us miserable. We had such high temps for, weeks, and it also caused a lot of issues on the homestead trying to take care of animals and see if we could make the garden survive, which, praise Yahweh, it has. As a matter of fact, I made some food for Pastor Joe today, and I just went out and picked a pepper and got some greens and fixed him a stir fry for lunch. And we haven't bought vegetables at the store since springtime. So what's new with you all? What's going on in your world? There is Ken Warland, Virginia here, ready for hoodie season. Yeah, right? Hoodies, I love hoodies. They're just such a practical piece of gear. Yes. Smiling Mary says, we're hot. And there's Jimmy Condiff. Hello. I'm teaching a 10-year-old to wash a baby. Wow. I remember when my mom taught me how to wash my first child. There's a technique there. Are you doing it indoors or outdoors, Palmetto? And there's DK Leaf. Shalom, Sister Catherine from the North Sac Valley of California. Sacramento Valley? Is that what Sac Valley would be? Sacramento? Grace Aker says, Ohio is warm, but less humid. Aid says, I'm back in Texas, Sister Kate. No way! Good for you. How are things down there? How's Wes and Rob and them guys? Now this time, Aid, you're just going to become an illegal alien. You're just going to cross. What's the river down there?
Rio Grande.
You're going to cross the Rio Grande, and then you're going to cross back over and join the whole crew that everyone else is going down there.
I'm going to work on his accent.
Yeah, work on your accent. Try to sound less like a Brit and more like a Mexican.
No, more like a...
Oh, more like an American? Okay. Just blend?
Yeah.
Okay. There's David Ellison. Pickled peppers, yeah. I haven't pickled any. We've been eating them just straight. I throw them in everything. They're mostly banana peppers, and they're just nice and mild and add flavor and everything. Teaching them indoors. Well, good. It's probably a little bit wet and messy. I'm so over these flies. I did a video. Smiling Mary says, we're drowning in tomatoes. You lucky thing. I wish I was drowning in tomatoes. We've had a few this summer, but I really like having things like BLTs, and I won't have them with store-bought tomatoes because it's just so disappointing. So we've had a couple. We've had some tomatoes, just not very many. What was I going to say? What was I saying? Oh, over the flies. Yeah. So I did a video, and I know I do a lot of videos on my critters, right? I'm a homesteader, and they are part of the homestead, and they're a big part of it for me. My ducks eat flies, which I thought was the coolest thing. And they did it near the end of the evening before the sun sets. They would start running around the duck area there, and they were snatching flies where the flies were landing on piles of droppings or whatever. They would snatch the flies, and I was like, good, free food, and you're getting rid of some pests. Yeah, the flies are really annoying. All right. Smile and Mary, you gonna make ketchup with those tomatoes? NWA Prepper, been a long week here already. I hope you're doing well. Oh, have you been busy? One Girl's Trek. Hello, hello. Canning homegrown tomato sauce right now. Hope everyone is well. That sounds delicious. Wes and Rob are okay, and it's hot. Yeah, there's no surprise there. You're in Texas, Aid. West Texas, I think even. It is hot. Shalom. I'm working on the accent. Yes, do. There is Girl for Freedom. Shalom, Sister Kate. Yep, Sacramento Valley, rock hard and hotter than hell. DK Leaf, you need to get out of there. Wish I had a garden, but this is my land's 7th year, so gotta let it rest. Well, and that's the right thing to do, Andrew. We still had volunteer stuff, and we still had wild stuff growing when we did our Shemitah year here. SK, are you inspired to do a multi-day hike like PJ? No, I'm not. No, I'm not going to, honey. No, walking for 14 days. I mean, I'm not totally against it. Like, if for some reason I had the time and the freedom to do it, I probably would. But it would probably take me twice as long because I'd probably dilly-dally the whole time. Nope. I ain't have enough walking around here. Someone says you're to be safe, honey. We did get 3 days of rain the other day. I bet the desert changed too. I make everything with the tomatoes. Well, yeah, because tomatoes are that versatile. Oh, we had pesto the other night. And it's one of those summertime meals I love to make. And I have basil that it's called sweet basil. It doesn't look exactly like the Italian basil, and it is the kind of thing that throws seeds down, and there are basil plants growing all over my greenhouse area. So I had plenty of it, and I have one Italian basil plant and one Thai basil plant. And so all the basil for the pesto came right out of the garden. It was super fresh. And one other thing. Oh, I put some kale and some chives from the garden also in it. It was really, really good. The only thing I had to change that I would rather have had is this one recipe that I use. It's olive oil and supposed to be cashews, but we were out of cashews, so I used peanuts. It still tasted pretty good, but it tastes divine with the cashews in it. There is Linda Hipple. Shalom, Sister Kate and crew. Sitting at a stoplight, just wanted to say hey. Hey, lamp keeper. Be safe while you're driving. Fair week and busy when at work and lots to do with trying at fall garden. And I think it is a thing to do. Is that okay if you have volunteers? Yeah, you just can't. You can eat them to eat.
Can't harvest.
You're not supposed to harvest. So like you don't make jam from your blackberries, but you can have jam on your cereal. Or at least that's what we did. Patty Sanchez says, I hear you, sounds great, but the reality sounds miserable. I don't know if it'd be miserable. I'm just not as driven. There's Lady Smith. Shalom, Sister Kate. There's Jason in Virginia. Shalom, family. Oh, here's one of those stink bugs climbing up my camera tripod. Oh, yeah, you are an unwelcome guest, buddy. Yes, I just squished him. I don't like them. They're the things that are attacking my plants. Let me get back to your comments here. Just cleaning it off my hand a little bit. Poke right behind me. Good for dyeing clothes. Looks like grapes, but it's not. Has lots and lots of vitamin A. Not a wild edible. A wild thing you can dye clothing with. So, let's see. Palmetto paratrooper, one of our basils was purple this year. I've had purple basil. It's good. Fry basil leaf in oil. That would be yummy. Shalom from North Idaho. Hunter Kirk. He's also driving, just like Lambkeeper. I just made some jalapeno relish. I'm calling Green Dragon Relish. It's sweet and spicy. Well, good for you. I don't think I've made relish at all, but I think relish adds a lot to a meal. And to things like potato salad and so on. So I'm going to stop and tell you a quick story. We got a decent amount of potatoes this year. Had them in a bin. They sat out on the porch to sort of dry out. And then were they down? Do we have them anywhere special?
Just in a cool place.
Okay, so we had stored them in a cool place, but somehow flies got to them, and so they started to rot. And then I've been cutting them open, and they are black in the middle. So this would have been the year we starved if we had been counting on those potatoes. And then when I looked up the black in the middle of a potato, they were too warm, too long. Wonder if the month of hot weather had anything to do that. So that's a tip from me to you. If you harvest potatoes, you do have to keep them pretty cool in order for them to be all right. Okay, there's Tavar. Shalom from the PNW. Linda says, changing my garden beds from summer to fall, winter, busy. Now, Linda, I know you do like really good garden beds. Mine are a little bit more wing it. You guys have seen them. But I did prep some stuff, and I've got some squash coming up. I'm waiting for green beans to come up. The kale have recovered, and I have put more manure on them. And the squash plants, like the Israeli squash that Raincat gave me, it produced another fruit, and I've been fighting the bugs. I've been fighting the flat squash bugs and stuff, but the plants are still alive. And because we've had rain, the plants look very healthy. And so we've gotten a couple of the little yellow summer squash, and there's more on the vine. So I'm looking forward to the fall garden being fairly productive, at least in that way. And I put some sweet potatoes in the ground, and they're doing fine. They're nice and healthy. And I don't know if I said this in a video or not. I was down at the orchard, as I do every day, and I was checking on the pears that are down there in those fruit bags. And in one of the bags, there were 2 pears that had fallen down in the bag. And I thought that they were rotten. And I was actually kind of disappointed. I was like, oh man, there's 2 more. Now I've only got like 8 left. Well, come to find, when I opened the bag, the pears were okay. And it actually looked like one of them may have had a crow tried to eat it, because it had like one little peck mark on it. But I think the crow figured out it wasn't going to get the fruit, so it stopped. And so I pulled them out, and I just couldn't help myself. I tried the one that had a little nip in it, and it was so good. And they weren't very big. They were probably about that big. I mean, store-bought pears can be this big, but they were about this big. But they were really good. Like the pears, I'm excited about. And I do have other ones down there. There's probably like, I don't want to exaggerate. There's not even a dozen pears down there. But I don't care. If I get to eat those pears this year, I will be so excited. I've already had, a taste of the one. Pastor and I share that one. And there's one pear on the other pear tree that survived everything this summer. And it's bigger. But if I get to eat them, I'm going to be super excited. And I know I learned a lot this year with those pears and the weather and the bugs and everything. And so I'm pretty confident that next year I will be able to protect them enough to be able to have more ripe. And I'm still waiting on my grapes. Several of the bunches are really dark in color, but I tasted one this morning and it's still pretty tart. So I'm going to wait until most of the bunches are dark, you know, like purplish. And then I'm going to make Grandma Pat's wild grape wine, and it's good wine. And it will probably, it's done in 11 days, so it will be more than ready for Sukkot, which I think, I've said this in other videos too. I think that's what new wine was. I think it was wine like I'm making it from this recipe. That's very, very basic and it's pretty sweet, but it's pretty good too. And I'm looking forward to that because I've made it now 2 or 3 times. Is PJ's Paleo shirt still available? I will have to ask him. Shirt still available? Yeah. Where is it? On Bonfire. You go to bonfire.com. It's on there. Tradesman. Yeah, it's available. Patty Sanchez. I should say in my current shape, it would be miserable. I need to fix that. Yeah, hiking is always a good thing. I end up, you know, hiking a half mile to a mile every day here. There's Lance Corporal Veteran. Good afternoon. Good afternoon to you. My garden has been growing well. Doing a 3-sister system. Learn pumpkins will kill other plants. Oh, I did not know that. I've tried to do 3 sisters, but the problem for me comes with you having the thing that they're supposed to climb up, the corn, the stalk be tall enough for them to actually climb. You have to plant the corn fairly early, I think, because it's never worked for us. The squash end up being really big and they just spread out.
Squash doesn't grow on the farm. Beans do. Squash.
Oh, the squash goes around. Okay, well then the beans never climbed the corn. The corn was never tall enough. And I've not been great at growing beans either. I've been trying to root cuttings from all my perennials so that they can move with me. It's hard to leave my fruit trees behind. I feel you, man. And I've been having a time out here with the fruit trees and the mold and the mildew. So I wish I could say, oh, it's awesome. But there are fruits that grow well out here, like the passion fruit and the grapes. David Ellison, Shalom from Southwest Missouri. I have issues with gophers. It's been a battle without repellent or poisons. Every time I see a hole, I pour water till I find the exit tunnel. Then I dig up and collapse the tunnel. That almost sounds like it could be a cartoon.
Caddyshack.
Right? Like Caddyshack. There you go. There is Stephen Wilson, one old man, and yeah. Shalom, Stephen. Always good to hear from you. Hey, I'm supposed to be giving you channel supporters a shout out too. Shout out to Stephen Wilson and Grace Akers, and let's see, to Linda and Teresa, my moderators. Always nice to have them in the chat room to help me take care of stuff. Although there's usually not a whole lot of trouble on my live streams. Do y'all watch Deep South Homestead? I don't think I do. I think I had in the past. Are they the ones who sit on their porch a lot of times when they do their live streams? Palmetto Paratrooper says, I have peach wine settling right now. I have grape wine. No, what kind of wine did I make? Blackberry wine in a cask settling. But it's not ready till next October. Sister Kate, have you and PJ tried Jerusalem artichoke? I had a really good hold over from last year that didn't harvest. Ton to harvest this year. Someone gave us some. We planted it. The goats ate the tops off, and we can't tell if... I'm pretty sure they didn't grow back. We have things here that look like it, but whenever we try to bring it up, the tuber's not very big.
There is no tuber.
There is no tuber. So, yes and no. Deborah Williams. Squirrels got all my Asian pears again. Thank you for all you do up here in the Ozarks of Missouri. Deborah Williams. I'm telling you what, those fruit bags are kind of useful. Now, we don't have a lot of squirrels, mainly because we have the kind of dogs that don't like squirrels. But what got my pears were deer. And I'm hoping these bags will keep the deer from tearing them up too. Jason in Virginia says, can't wait for Sukkot. Sukkot is pretty fun. Ours here is going to be pretty laid back. I think we're going to do a lot of just talking around the campfire. But yeah, Sukkot is fun. I like Sukkot. I like seeing my brothers and sisters. I learned not to overwater your peas or you won't get the nodules on their roots. Okay. I've never overwatered my peas. My peas usually suffer from mold at the end. You know, they give me peas and then they get that mold. Peas will yellow and die from too much water. Most plants will yellow and die from too much water. That's one of the signs. Either you're not giving them enough or you're giving them too much. 35 on and only a dozen and change likes. Hit the thumbs up, people, says Tavar. And Teresa reiterated it. Wife's calling me for dinner. Shalom all, says Brendan. All right. Philip Hale, school year just started. Liberty-minded charter school, U.S. history. Right on. Yeah, it started for my daughter too. She's going to be teaching a creative writing class this semester for a professor who is on sabbatical. Sabbatical being very similar to Shabbat, you guys. There's Mark Chase. Shalom. Grandma Ginger's Farm. Hello, Social Cake. Good to see you. Shalom. Good to see you around too, Grandma Ginger's Farm. Just Me says, Jerusalem artichokes are delicious. The tuber is like the best part of a regular artichoke, plus supposed to be good for diabetic folks, and they spread. So that's great. That is great. Mulberry leaf tea is supposed to be good for diabetes too. Keeps the blood sugar from spiking if you drink it before a meal. Ledwin Mayer just moved to East Tennessee, Piney Woods. Well, how do you like it? That's a pretty part of the country. Pumpkins kill or stunt other plants by blocking the sun with their leaves. That's pretty much any squash plant, though. They just have really big leaves, and so it's hard for anything to grow around them. Blackberry wine with vodka is so good, said David Ellison. I don't know if I'd try it. Vodka's kind of hard on the tummy. Forest Ghost Preparedness says, Shalom, sister. Hello from Mrs. West S. I stole Aid's phone. Hello, Mrs. West S. You're lucky to have the Aid back. I think you need to talk him into staying and introduce him to your friends. Mrs. Lovely Dudley, Shalom, listening while cooking. Well, Sister Noelle, thank you for being here. What you cooking? Teresa says she has to run. Good night. Good night. Goodbye. Have to clean the kitchen, says Lance Corporal, a veteran. All right. Have any of the rest of you been paying attention to the news stories about the polio thing? Polio being found in sewer systems in London, New York City, and one other big city. I can't remember what the third one was. And then the supposed source is probably Ethiopians, I think. I was watching I think I even posted it on the community part. John Campbell, Dr. John Campbell, he's not a medical doctor. He's a PhD in, I think it said either health science or nursing or something. I mean, he has a PhD. So he was commenting on the polio because of the kind it was, because there's a live vaccine and then there's an attenuated vaccine. Because of what kind they found, they could tell it was a vaccine that hadn't been used in a while. And so they assumed it was from certain countries that obviously, bought these vaccines from other countries, and it's an older version. And I wasn't quite sure, though, how, if the person had the vaccine, why would there be live polio now in the sewage system? like, is their body producing polio even though they had a vaccine? And did they not have the whole course? Because I think you have to have like 3 or 4 over a course of time. And then it is something that's passed on through your gut. Like if your gut is leaky, then you can get polio, because if your gut's healthy and not leaky, you don't normally break out with polio. I think John Campbell said the last time they had a breakout, they had like 8,000 cases in the whole country of England, which is not a whole lot. We're back to Jerusalem artichokes. Okay, the Jerusalem artichoke are technically an invasive species. If they're allowed to take off, you should get decent yearly yields. All right. What else did I want to talk about? I wanted to talk about the polio. Oh, because England is offering a vaccination for polio for any child between the ages of 1 and 9 in the country. I can't imagine they've changed it that much.
I bet you they did.
But
They've got the various precedents.
But the other problem is going to be, I don't know what they've been doing with their immigration. And if you get a lot of people coming into the country who've never been vaccinated for polio.
In London, really?
In London, they could have a bigger outbreak of the actual disease. And then you're going to have some serious issues because it causes paralysis in body parts. Like you can have, he gave the example that you can have polio attack the nerves in your arm, and then your arm no longer works. It's paralyzed, and for some people it's in the lungs, and then they can't breathe, and they have to lay in that iron lung thing, and it would be, I won't call it a health crisis, but it would certainly be a serious health situation. DT pass, gut leaky. Yeah, like your if you have ulcers or you have diverticulitis or things like that, where your gut is not totally healthy, it would allow it to leak around. Mark Chase, polio is really bad. My mom had it, and some of the effects take place in your advanced years. Yeah, it's no good. Polio is a very serious disease. I mean, our president, FDR, had it, and he really tried to rehabilitate people. He had opened a farm for people with polio in Georgia to do kind of physical therapy kind of things. Like there was a swimming pool, and they took walks and all sorts of things to try to rehabilitate these nerves that were affected. And like with FDR, his legs were affected. His legs were not very strong, and so he was in a wheelchair a lot of the time, but he worked very hard on his leg and arm muscles, and actually stood up for, I think when he was sworn in as president, or maybe gave a speech at the UN or something, he actually stood up. He had those kind of crutches, and he had to support himself on them, but he did stand there, which was something he had worked very hard to try to accomplish. Right. Yep. So what else we've been doing here? One of the things that really keeps us busy is just taking care of the land. Still fighting weeds here, still working every day. I go out with my kama, which I did a video on too, that thing that looks like a kung fu tool, and I chop down weeds that are undesirable, and then I'm also trying to, I found any nifty tools recently. No, haven't really been looking for one. Got a very modern one recently though. I got a vacuum cleaner, because I've been sweeping the floors here mainly to keep up with the dog hair and everything, but finally decided, nope, we're gonna go and get a small vacuum cleaner. Because it's just with the cat too, it's a little much. But oh, hang on, amaranth. So amaranth is a weed, and it's a thorny. They call it pigweed in this area. It's a thorny plant. Has green leaves, but the stalk's kind of purplish. It's really unpleasant to walk through, and it gets a fuzzy, long seed head. Oh, Wes is like, hey, help, we've been invaded. Yes, there's been a British invasion in your area. The amaranth around here grows wild in my neighbor's field, and I planted some in the greenhouse, which the one plant is now like 6 feet across. It's ridiculous. I'm not going to continue to keep amaranth in the greenhouse, but I'm trying to get it to grow wild because it is a seed. Now they're tiny, but it's a very ancient seed that people have been using for a long time as cereals and to make bread, flour, things like that. And so I've been trying to get that to grow around the property. I went up to the neighbors and I got a bunch of the seed heads and I walked all over our property throwing them around. Hey, there's Rev. SK, good evening. Thorny pigweed is awful, have to cut it before it flowers, says Linda Hipple. I used to think the same thing. And then I went out to Western Kansas where my son was teaching, and he had goats, and someone had offered him a field she wasn't using that was full of that stuff. And so he put his goats in there. And when I visited, I said, oh, that stuff is horrible. It's just so, like you said, thorny, right? So annoying. And he's like, no, Mom, no. The goats literally lived on it all winter long. Amaranth can turn into a tumbleweed when it dies. It can spread fast. Aledwin, I thought tumbleweeds were a kind of Russian sage, but whatever. My son told me that they had eaten all the leaves off the amaranth plants, and then all winter long, they actually ate the stalk. And so he didn't have to buy any hay. It was not a huge field either. It was only maybe 1 acre, maybe less. DK says amaranth, mallow, and foxtails grow super naturally here. So my son didn't have to buy any feed. He didn't have to buy any hay. He just let his goats eat this amaranth field, and that was good. And I thought, wow, that's fantastic. If the goats can live off of it and we can harvest it as well, that's the kind of plant I like to grow. So good news is it has taken root in some of the areas. So I'm killing plants I don't like, that I don't seem to be very useful, that also take over huge areas and keep other plants from going. And then I'm trying to plant things like that that will benefit at least the goats and maybe us. And yes, it'll be thorny, so we'll try to keep it sort of controlled, but I don't mind plants that my animals can live off of. All right. Let me go back because there's some comments. Okay. Linda says, it's great, I grow it. And Linda's a heck of a gardener, if you can't tell by her comments. Now, foxtails, I don't think are good. At least DK, the foxtail I'm thinking of. Huh? No. That's foxglove. Yeah, no, foxtail is a tall grass with really sharp, pointy seed heads on it, and it made my horse very, very sick. So I don't think I like that. And I think we have mallow here, but I don't know what it is exactly. And I also noticed in my garden, purslane is starting to grow. And purslane is, a very healthy natural plant, supposed to taste good, all sorts of stuff. So I'm going to pay attention and start using it. And we also have the other plant that looks like purslane that has like no benefits. So I'm pulling that up. All right, Tavar 7 says it's kind of like blackberries. Seems like a nuisance until you have a purpose for it. Then it's great if it's managed. Wes S., I was in your state last week. My daughter and son-in-law decided to move to Texas. Wow. Several different weeds tumble, said Wes S. Tell me some of them. Kentucky Sorrel 76. Good evening, young lady, and everyone in the chat. Hope all are well. Well, thank you very much, sir. Mike Goodwrench 1. Hey, SK, any ideas for growing herbs in pots on the patio in the fall? I'm located in North Texas. I think you can grow any herb in a pot. You just have to get good soil. The pot has to drain. It can't just be like a yogurt container. You've got to have holes in the bottom and some sort of catch underneath for the water so it doesn't ruin your tabletop. But anything that you like, you can grow basil or parsley or chives or lavender. It depends on what you want them for. Should have hollered, Mark, unless you mean Dallas, which is basically Detroit. Texas is a big state. You may not have been anywhere near it, Mark. Palmetto Paratrooper. Propagating native wild species is fun. All the work is keeping it under control, which is absolutely true. Once you get something like cattails started, you have to know where you want them. And if you want like a pond, you can't let the cattails take it over because eventually they kind of dry it up, I think. Mark Chase, are those woke plants? I'm not sure what you're talking about, Mark. I'm sure you're making a joke. All right, Grandma Ginger's Farm. Amaranth for the fiber and comfrey for the minerals for wintering goats. Okay, Grandma Ginger's Farm. Excuse me, I have comfrey. I finally bought a comfrey plant and I planted it and it's in my herb area and it's very happy. It's very big. So are you saying I can feed it to the goats? Because that's good information. Wes says, foxtail is bad for a pasture. Yeah, I don't want foxtail here, and I'm fighting it because it came in on a hay bale, and it's still in little places growing. And every time I see it, I cut the head off and I burn it. I don't want that. There's lots of grasses I'm happy to have. Purslane grows all over. Yes, it does. It seems to come at the end of the summer here in my garden. Spear grass is foxtail on steroids. We also have Johnson grass, which is not great. We used to spray tumbleweeds with flocking, stack them up, and called them snowmen when I lived in Southern California. I had an idea to have, because my daughter lived in Western Kansas, and she had tumbleweeds in her town, to paint each one of them back when we thought Christmas was okay. Like one gold, one red, and one green, and use them as a decoration. But obviously we don't do that anymore. Highlander, much love and bosoms. What? Blessings. All right. Much love and blessings. Thanks, Highlander. Home again, jiggity dog. Oh, here comes Kiki Puss. Where are you, you little cat? I just heard her meowing. Oh, here she is. She came up on the deck. It's like a 6-foot jump for her to get up here. Yeah, I'm doing a live stream. What do you think? Oh, you want to be in on it? Is that right? Huh? Anyone with cats knows how annoying they are. Okay, come here. Yes, you stinky kitty. All right, what do we got? Oh, Lamb Keeper's not driving anymore. Good. NKMSTF Ghost. Shalom all. Shalom. Thanks, SK. This is the first time I've ever commented on any YouTube channel. I've been watching PJ for years now, just lurking in the shadows. Well, look at that. You spoke up and nothing terrible happened. Good job. Grandma Ginger's Farm says you can absolutely feed comfrey to goats. Well, then I'm going to do it. Do you dry yours? Grandma Ginger has all the best info, says Patty Sanchez. She sure does. Mark Chase, you said you try to get rid of worthless plants that crowd in and want to make over. Oh, woke plants. Okay, I get it, Mark. Yes. Yet another use for propane on a homestead, rural living, torching weeds. Someone suggested I get the weed torcher for the weeds I don't like, and I think it would work. I'm just don't want to have to carry around the propane tank with me. Amradco, hello from Dave in Colorado. I saw the video where you were in Colorado. What a stark difference from where you live and where we live. Yeah, although Colorado's gorgeous. So I don't want you to think that I was like, oh my gosh. This is, what is it? Semi-tropical. I mean, this is just, you see it. Subtropical. It is, when it rains, almost too much growth. You have to figure out how to control this if you can. Otherwise it takes over. Pastors down there right now just chopping at weeds and getting out dead brambles and doing all kinds of yard work. And I spent, how long did I spend? I've spent at least an hour a day each day this week cutting down things that I don't want going on. All right. Wait a minute. I don't want to get ahead of myself. Okay. Wes S. The seeds will penetrate the gums and gut of certain animals. Wes S. That is exactly why I don't like foxtail, because it penetrated the gums of my horse and made it lose like hundreds of pounds until we figured out what was going on and finally got it taken care of. You will want to cut the leaves back regularly in order to make it keep going. Okay, thank you for the tip. Foxtail seeds, yeah, they're very sharp, they're very pointy, and they'll stick in your clothing and stuff too. Highlander, going to give field radish and sorghum Sudan grass a try this winter, cover crop. Highlander, I have we had a sorghum Sudan grass as an experiment here on the mountain, and it grew fine, and it is supposed to be a good cover crop, so I can recommend it. I would really like to do radish. Not radish. Sorghum. Sorghum is a really good plant, and sorghum syrup is absolutely delicious. I am such a, well, when we first got here, I did have a brain tumor, so I was kind of not with it. Someone gave me several jars of sorghum syrup, and I still have them. I didn't get rid of them, but I didn't realize what a gift that was until I went with my friend, and I talked about that in a video too, and she taught me how to make the sorghum syrup, and it is so good. And I would like to grow sorghum as a plant. We even made a little broom with the seed heads and so on. I mean, it's just a really cool plant. So I highly recommend sorghum as well as sorghum Sudan grass. All right. Lampkeeper says she has 3. She's talking about cats. She has them on her Instagram. They take turns wanting attention in the middle of the night. Yeah, they're weird. Like, this cat does not have a regular 7 p.m. She wants to have milk. I don't give her milk every day, but she knows it's 7 o'clock and she'll come around. 11 o'clock, she wants to go out. 2 in the morning, she wants to come in. 7 in the morning, she wants to go out. It's ridiculous. The dogs, we don't have too much issue with the dogs. The dogs and us are pretty much on the same schedule, but this ding dong, ugh. Even if my wife wasn't allergic to cats or I didn't have OCD issues with them, yeah, no cats for us. Well, we're generally dog people. She just happened to be on the mountain and kind of finagled her way in. I'm definitely not a cat person. Goats will eat dried or fresh comfrey. Also good to know. Wes S. Put propane on the 4-wheeler and ride around going Mad Max on the weeds. Well, there's an idea that I hadn't thought of. I'm going to have to think that over. That actually sounds like it could be fun. Almost as fun as chopping them all up with my kama. That man's needs a weed eater with a skill saw blade. Oh? You hear that, sweetie? You need a weed eater with a skill saw blade. That'll help you do the weeds. And we use it for a workout. Highlander says, thank you kindly. This fall, we're going to start reclearing our land for building next year. Getting rid of the Johnson grass that has gone to seed should be fun. Well, and you know, the best way to do it you have to dig up that root. If you leave the tuber in the ground, it continues to grow underground. But I've done a decent job in areas where I didn't want any when I dug those roots up, and I used my homie, the other tool that was in my video. Lamp keeper, they all have different personalities. Yeah, I'll say hers is different, all right. Takes a while, but you can get your cat on a schedule. Yeah. See, she's trying to come up in my lap right now. She never does that, but right now, live stream, she wants to be here. There are some great propane torches for weeds, says Randall Davidson. Well, Randall, which one do you recommend? There is Rocklick Ranch. Shalom, Sister Kate. How's your house build coming along? Tinfoil hat. Your cat schedule is very typical for a cat. Nothing strange. Cats are great for vermin. You have to earn a cat's affection. Well, this is the thing. She picked us, and it's not like we're sitting around with nothing to do. We have so many other animals. She's lucky if she gets any attention at all. But we are glad she is a vermin killer, and she has not often, but attacked and killed some vermins. She also kills birds, which I'm not keen on. I like my birds. All right. Your schedule, says Grandma Ginger's farm. Yeah, right? Not hers. Okay. There is Mary Negre. Did you ever get the piano tuned and operational? Just a thought from videos a while back. Not yet. Still at a standstill. Rockly Duran says, great but slow. Yeah, you're speaking my language on that. It's not easy. Growing a house. Palmetto Paratrooper. I grew the current world record holder for the hottest pepper in the world, and now I have a lot of seeds, considering breeding my own pepper variety. Uh-huh. That's a young man's game, those hot peppers things. I don't think using a skill saw blade is the wisest decision with all those rocks, says the lamp keeper. Good point. Tinfoil Hat says just have some of the Shalomi homies build a flamethrower, but they can be fun, like potato guns. I'm sure they can. Tavar 7. All right, Shalomi, I've been up 24 of the last 26 hours and it's well past my bedtime. Blessings, SK and PJ. Well, thanks for coming to the thing and get you some sleep there, bud. I use the Greenwood one, but there are several. We've used them for prescribed burns too. Yeah, I've seen them used for that before. There's Rachel Hidehouse. We got the insurance check for our house today, finally. Hey, hallelujah. That's awesome. Glad to hear it. We can talk about that next time we see each other. I'm happy for you. And thank you for supporting the channel. Miss West says, use a water bottle and spray the cat when you catch her staring at birds to pounce. It will learn to leave the birds alone. That's good advice. We have a spray bottle for inside, but when she's outside, I don't keep up with her. Shalom, y'all. Time for women's group Torah study. Blessings. All right, yeah, and it's been an hour. I've got to now go do my chores, locking birds up and things like that. So I'm going to also say goodnight. Thank you for coming to the live stream. It was good seeing and talking to all of y'all. And yeah, have a great rest of the week. Shalom. Bless you. Mary Negre, Sister Kate, does flour go bad? Not really, but it can get spoiled. It can get rancid. It can get moths in it, things like that. It doesn't last forever. What lasts longer is dried wheat that you grind into flour when you need to use it. If you were just starting out homesteading, what would you plant first? Fruit trees. Fruit trees. You want to get them going as soon as you can. All right. God bless everybody. Wes, S, and Aid, you guys behave down there. Shalom, shalom, shalom. Yeah, blessings to everyone. Good night, good night, good night.
Look what I did.
Wes S. No. Yes, I